She's like, and the pathology results came back and there is no evidence of disease. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, what are you saying? Like, are you saying that, like, or is the cancer gone? I eventually, in this post remission or post cancer remission world, I made huge changes in my life. And then I had a PET scan and found out it was in my liver, all over my bones. Like, I mean, you couldn't count the spots in my liver, also in my lymph nodes, in my stomach. And I was just like, I was so angry. I did choose a double mastectomy for my long-term peace of mind. And that felt good for me. I had my double mastectomy and I had tissue expanders put in place. So those are like temporary breasts that go through radiation better than implants. That was my cancer-free date, though, was that surgery. So it's like they cleaned out, they got clear margins, they removed some lymph nodes as well. I had some complications. I had this thing called cording in my armpit that showed up after surgery. It was weird. And it, like these strings developed. Like it literally they look like piano chords, and they would go from here all the way down through my armpit to my breast, and I couldn't lift my arm, and it really hurt. And so I remember when I first brought it to the attention of my breast surgeon, she's like, "You're going to physical therapy right away. We have to resolve this before radiation, because when you're in radiation for breast cancer, you have to hold this little pose for 10 minutes and be really still." And I couldn't lift my arm up. And she's like, "You need to be like," she goes, "First of all, the cords, they don't really know the cause of it. They don't know that they could last forever. They could be gone soon. There could be more." It was just very like unknown. So of course I freaked out at first about that. Went into physical therapy, and I loved my physical therapist. She was wonderful. So I have a background in yoga therapy, but I'm telling you, healing from a double mastectomy, I felt really nervous, like nervous to push my body, or like this was unfamiliar territory to me. So basically it was like private yoga therapy for healing after surgery. And so I tell everyone now, I'm like, if your insurance covers physical therapy, do it. Don't wait for a complication. And so I started healing really quickly. She would massage the cords, like they would pop and break apart. It was creepy. But by the time I did have radiation, I had the full use and range of movement. And so that took me into the summer. I had my tissue expanders were getting filled every week. So with saline, and I literally like watched my boobs grow half size. That was hilarious. They stretched the pec muscle over on top of the implant, or at this point the tissue expanders. And so it was painful. Like, so as this would stretch further, it would pull here and there, and like it was really intense. And so they had to like blow me up to a certain size before radiation. So I had radiation that summer. That went great. As expected, like your skin does, it's a really intense sunburn. It did peel and blister. And then what was underneath, though, was like this baby butt soft, brand new skin that, totally healed, and you can't tell at all. It did do some weird stuff, like it pulled this breast up and my nipple to the left a bit. So some women have their nipples removed with a double. I was able to keep mine because there wasn't any cancer near it. And then it came time at that point after radiation, it's like all the big parts of the cancer therapy were over. I got on a hormone pill, which is to block, not to reduce estrogen in my body, but to basically like block, it's called tamoxifen, to block if there were remaining cancer cells floating around, like microscopic ones, it would ideally like bind the cancer cells' mouths closed so it couldn't feed on estrogen. So it's like a hormone blocker. So that was a daily pill. And that actually went great. Like it was very easy for me. And so there I am, like just kind of released, and they're like, see you in 3 months. And I had to wait about a year for that final reconstruction surgery, which is a big deal, but it's also not really cancer treatment. It's, working with a plastic surgeon, building boobs. But it was really interesting moment for me because here I am, I'm physically cancer free. I made it through the biggest parts of treatment. And, at first it was like exciting, elating. And then I just got bombarded with so many emotions. Again. And this fear of recurrence, like it's going to come back. And, oh no, like at that point I'm making friends in cancer world and some of them aren't here anymore. And I'm just seeing these other possibilities, and big emotions were coming up. I was having a really hard time in my marriage. Cancer was connecting us in the beginning, and then it started tearing us apart. We had different views on healing. He was very much into the natural alternative world. And he saw chemo as poison. He thought it would kill me. He doubted everything the doctor said. And so not to have like my person, on the same page with me, and he also wouldn't get help either. And I was begging, like, please go to therapy, please, like anything. And it was about a year and a half into the process where he finally said yes to that. And that was a big lesson. And, caregivers, our partners, have their own cancer journey too. And to be honest, I think it's harder at times because like so we're all dealing with unknown, right? The cancer is going to do what it does. So that's out of all of our control. But at least with me, like I can be empowered in how I treat my cancer, how I choose to live, how I react to things. I can affect that, but he can't affect that either, so it's like double loss of control. And of course, what's underneath all of that is fear of losing me. But what happened was, he emotionally checked out a bit and I felt very unsupported. Luckily, my mom, with her nursing background, she was flying out. She lives in Florida. So she was flying out for all the big parts of treatment. She was amazing. So I was just full of so much grief, but here I was cancer free. And so that kind of birthed my whole like philosophy of cancer, that like being cancer free, true freedom from cancer, it's a state of mind. Like it is not a diagnosis. It's not a physical condition. And so I had to find cancer free again, in my life. And that involved like letting these emotions flow, letting the grief come out, and then questioning, these thoughts like the cancer will come back, starting to question the beliefs about my relationship. And I eventually, in this post remission or post cancer remission world, I made huge changes in my life. And it was really clear to me that I was done living in Texas. I'd actually been done 12 years earlier and just, didn't for many different reasons, but I was still there and like I was ready to go. And I had started spending summers in Colorado. I've always loved Colorado. I started writing. I wrote in the beginning of my journey. I shared I shared my whole journey on a blog and on social media, and it felt really good to write. And that was very healing for me. So was sharing, and that connected me with so many amazing people in the cancer community as well. And so, I like some answers became clear. Like, I want to write a book about this experience. I want to help others. Like, I think the way I have approached mindset it's very unique and different and so supportive. Like, I could have fun in cancer. And, so I did that. And my relationship, I was like, this is not working for me anymore. So I'm done treatment, in remission, feeling good. And then I'm making big changes. So I packed all of my belongings into my little Toyota Camry, separated from my partner, and drove to Colorado, to start a new life, and just to see, like, just to put me first and see, okay, like, what is it that I really want? And it was exhilarating. Like, I don't know, I felt amazing. I ended my marriage. I started dating. I was very scared about being a post-cancer person and dating because like I had body parts. I had so many scars and changes. And I was worried that it might be some kind of baggage, like, oh no, who's going to love me now, knowing that I've been through this and that it could come back. Like I didn't live in that fear, but I acknowledged that that's possible. And so, it was really interesting. And so I dated for fun. Like it was just a fun, playful thing. And then I met this guy named Tim. And we met on a dating app and had dinner at this tea house in Boulder and just hit it off right away. And then I was like, oh my God, I like that. I really like, and we just fell in love. And we met 1 month before COVID, the pandemic, which was hilarious. So my whole thing was, if I'm going to be with someone, I need to be with somebody that I can really enjoy life with, especially when things get hard, because they will get hard. Like some other curveball will happen. That's just life. And so I need someone that can like make it fun, make it silly, because I can do that. But like I need a partner for that too. So going into a pandemic was perfect for us because we had a freaking ball. Like we hunkered down together, we like danced all night, we cooked amazing meals, we watched movies, like we just made it so fun and just fell for each other. So we had been together for a little over a year and we moved into our first home together. It's where we live now. And I started having low back pain. And of course, like when people are in remission, like every new pain, new symptom, new anything, your mind's like, oh my God, it's cancer, it's cancer. And you had to talk yourself out of a lot of those things. But if it's something that is consistent, like it lasts over 2 weeks, I mean, for me, it's like definitely take it to the doctor. So I called my doctor right away when I started having the pain. And, I had been doing, I took my boyfriend to meet my family in Florida. And we did a handstand contest on the beach with my nieces. And we wanted to get the photo where like all of our feet were up at the exact same time. So we took 1 million photos and did 1 million handstands. So my back really hurt that night. And then the next day, and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting old. But like by the time that trip came around, like I actually was wondering if I needed a wheelchair at the airport. It was so much pain. So I called the doctor. They're like, this sounds like an injury. I think you're fine. I had a follow-up appointment. 3 weeks later, I was limping and they're like, 90% of people have low back pain. I'm like, are you sure you don't need a scan? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay. Like, and then I asked my OBGYN, like, maybe I should get a scan. Like, I just kept asking everyone and no one thought I needed one. So I went then for chiropractics and yoga and, I tried to heal it. It kept getting worse, to the point where it's so difficult to walk. And then some days it would also be okay. So like, because it wasn't constant, they ruled it out as a recurrence. Well, I had enough. Again, I hit that same enough moment and I'm like, I need a freaking scan. I don't care. Like I'm getting the scan. And so I found a spine specialist. He ordered a scan finally. And then insurance declined to pay for it because they said it wasn't medically necessary. So at that point, I'm 5 years out from cancer. I'm from being, pronounced physically cancer free. And I'm like, but I'm a cancer survivor. Like, what do you mean? Like, why? Okay, fine. They said, we'll pay for it after you do 6 weeks of physical therapy. So I'm like, fine. So I do the physical therapy. Later learned that it's probably doing more damage to my body than healing. It certainly didn't help. And I finally get a low back MRI. And at that point, my quality of life was like, it was really screwing with my adventure plans in Colorado. And I was like, I just need to know what this is so I can heal it. I want to rule out cancer, but I just need to know what it is. But I had that MRI and the doctor called me 2 hours later and I was at home alone on the couch. And he said, are you sitting down? And like, well, I mean, and I'm like, I am now. And he said, we found lesions all over your bones. And I didn't know what lesions meant. Like, what was that? Is this cancer? And he's like, it appears so. He's like, you need to call your oncologist right away. And I just like crumpled. I mean, crumpled into pieces. And that's stage 4, you know, and then I felt like, it's like, I did everything, you know, I did all the treatment. And then I even I wrote and published my book. Like I had a book about it. Like I tried to help people all my career. I was coaching clients. I have classes that I run. And I was like, what more do you want from me, life? Like I did all the things. And then I had a PET scan and found out it was in my liver, all over my bones. Like, I mean, you couldn't count the spots in my liver, also in my lymph nodes, in my stomach. And I was just like, I was so angry, so angry. And then, so now I have metastatic breast cancer, stage 4. And again, I have new medical team out here in Colorado, but I have humans. And while they've definitely messed up on the scan part, they were then all over my care. And I loved, because I did not want a timeline, you know, and they didn't give me one. They're like, this is treatable for many years. This is treatable. This is treatable. And I'm like, curable? They're like, it's not curable. So, and again, that's I know there's new medications and everything. So I still hold out hope for that. But right now I'm, you know, making acceptance with, I have a lifelong, I am on treatment for life, you know, at the moment until there's, you know, I'm shown differently. And so going back into that world, so deeply was absolutely crushing at first. And, I kept it quiet, you know, in the beginning. I was such a big sharer before, but I was like, I need to work through this on my own first, just my family and my people. My partner at the time, you know, we're only a year in. I'm like, you are free to go. Like, this is the hardest ask of anything. No one's going to blame you. Like, I tried to give him every out, and he was just like, I am so in this with you. So yeah, and everyone rallied. Like it was just beautiful. And I had this moment where it was like, okay, you know what? Like this is happening. Whether I like it or not, again, like it's happening. And so that turned on that thing in me that was like, make the fucking best of it. It's happening. Now my diagnosis is to live the fuck out of life, like in every way possible. You know, not to wait on those things that you really want to do, and just embrace what's in front of me. And so I've been living with stage 4 cancer for 1.5 years. And I went back into chemo. So 2 new chemo drugs, did a really good job of shrinking things. And now I'm on what's called a maintenance treatment plan, which is I get a monthly infusion, and a shot in my butt for hormone therapy, and then daily pills. And so it's really manageable. And my low back, went from like, it hurt to walk to, within a matter of months, like I actually skied last season. And I remember like getting on the mountain for the first time, because I did not know if I'd ski again. I went skiing. I can hike. I've been paddleboarding. I traveled to Costa Rica with my mom. We had a really fun girls trip. I got to be there for the birth of my nephew, my first birth, was witnessing. It was just like so many magical, amazing things have happened in the last 1.5 years that I'm like, this is not what I thought stage 4 cancer would be like. And yay, like, oh my gosh, I can still have a great life with this too. And so now I'm really, really passionate to keep living, period, and then keep sharing and helping others. So it's giving me like this amazing sense of purpose. I got to record the audio version of my book as well. And now like everything is shrinking and disappearing physically in my body. Now, I very much hope it stays that way. I live in cancer land. And so I know, like, I know so many people now, and my friends are passing away. They're dying. And that is like the absolute hardest part of this, because it's good people who are making all the right decisions, have great mindsets too. And just for some reason, like their bodies aren't responding to treatment. And it's heartbreaking. Like it's heartbreaking. I think I've lost 14 or 15 friends in the past 1.5 years. And each time, like, it does not get easier. It just breaks me. And that's going to be part of my journey. The longer I get to live, the more I will see that. And so I just, I think of like, how can I honor them? Like how would they want me to live my life? They wouldn't want me to live it in grief and crying, but I am going to cry for a bit. And then I'm going to, honor them by like living it up. They have given me so much wisdom too. And it's like, God, just hug your loved ones, and love your life. Like you're so lucky to be here. And I really want to keep holding that perspective. And with treatment, there are some side effects. They're very manageable. Fatigue and low immunity I'm very immunocompromised. So those are the two main things. But like, I learned to deal with it and like let my body rest and not over push it. And then some days it can do so much. And it's like, yeah, it's very exciting, but I'm very much, living in the present moment of it. If I look at the statistics, which I don't, but I've unfortunately like come across if I'm reading an article, or the odds are like, they're not in my favor to be here for very long. But at the same time, like those statistics are based on old medications. Like the medication I'm on right now is newer. It's not, and I haven't even entered clinical trial phase yet. Like it's not based on those medications. And like for something to become a statistic, it takes years. So it's old data. It's not my body. My body isn't in any of those stats. So I I have to bring myself back to reality. It's like, you're doing well. Things are disappearing. I get scans every 3 months. And, so far, so good. I'm now in year 7 of being in cancer treatment. And I'm living a really, really beautiful, beautiful life that I love. Yeah, so I go in once a month. I just went last Friday. I make a very ridiculous reel every time I go in now, which distracts my mind and just makes it silly and fun. And so that's once a month going in. And then I have a pill I take every day. That's hormone therapy. It's called anastrozole. But and then I'm on a medication called Ibrance, and that's 3 weeks on, 1 week off. And that's what knocks down my immunity. So like right now I have to take an extra week off because my immunity is too low to continue that one. So, and yeah, like my scans are phenomenal. I mean, I've had no new growth. And I'm really grateful for that. And so, to me, it's like, if there's any inkling, it is worth your peace of mind to get it checked out. For scans, in my case, in breast cancer, they stop scanning you when you're pronounced cancer free. I actually asked for a scan at the end of treatment. They did it, but then they didn't scan me again. And so I would demand a scan every year. And some doctors actually do that. Your peace of mind is so worth it. And so I would also ask, like I would have demanded harder for the scan for the low back pain. And I would have said, listen, if the doctor said no, I need you to write in your notes that you're denying me a scan right now that I'm requesting. And I hate, like, it's a little bit of a power play, but it is, do it, because they're liable, they're liable for that. And so then that's in the notes, that's in the records. So yeah, if something feels off and not right, speaking up, I think, is so important. And then just, getting answers is important. I've had to advocate, like in the beginning of my stage 4 treatment too. I wasn't getting called back it was so confusing. Like, and finally I was like, I need to talk to a manager now. And I was like, this is stage 4. This is my life now. Like, this is my life. And I need to know you guys are on top of this. And I also recognize, like, the medical system is busy. They're so overworked. I mean, this was also pandemic. I was in a pandemic getting stage 4 cancer. So like, I have to, like, be aware of that. But also, take care of myself the best that I can, and also take care of my mind. That's, an advocate for my own mind and my thought patterns and what I'm feeding my mind. Look at what it's teaching you. Every challenge of this journey, which there are many, like, what is it teaching you? And it might be to slow down, to advocate, to be more present. It might be to fall apart. It might be to ask for help, to say yes to support. There's so many lessons in this journey. And I'm not saying that like, if I would have learned those lessons, I wouldn't be in this situation. No, like we're in it. Who knows why, but like we're in it. But it's like a way to extract a lot of beauty from it as well. And then that puts me in a state of gratitude and appreciation for what I'm going through, instead of fear, and anger. And that's, to me, also physically healing, to be grateful.